Hi, Rewatch Podcast listeners. I'm Cory.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Nathan.
First off, let me say that we have all had a blast doing the Rewatch Podcast. Every week, we put out another episode for free for you. And although we enjoy these discussions with each other, we truly do this for you guys out there in podcast land.
That's right, Cory. But we are here today to tell you about Patreon. Every week, there are costs involved in podcasting about film and television, including hosting and bandwidth charges, our own personal internet usage, and film or show rentals and purchases. So, we're asking you to become a Patreon supporter.
If you can afford as little as $1 to throw our way per month, it would really help us keep the lights on. And if you want to send $100 our way every month, we wouldn't turn that down either. But it's your choice, and we appreciate the support you bring.
As always, we strive to bring you the best quality shows we can create, and we hope that you enjoy them. So head on over to patreon.com/rewatchpodcast to become one of our patrons and show your support for the Rewatch Podcast.
And if we get enough patrons, we may even be able to produce exclusive content just for the supporters in the form of simply getting episodes before the main feed release, or even bonus film discussion episodes as a thank you for your support. The website again is patreon.com/rewatchpodcast.
Thanks, everyone.
What if you could find brand new worlds right here on Earth, where anything is possible? Same planet, different dimension. I found the gateway.
The Rewatch Podcast presents the Sliders Rewatch, dedicated to the series Sliders on Fox and Sci-Fi Channel. Join us each week as we continue crossing the Einstein-Rosen-Podolsky Bridge and find ourselves in strange new worlds. Email your thoughts on each episode to the rewatchpodcast@gmail.com. Join us on Facebook at facebook.com/rewatchpodcast or on Twitter @rewatchpod.
And welcome back to the Rewatch Podcast and our Sliders Rewatch. I'm Cory.
And I'm an MSE6 series repair droid, slumming it with Data Universal.
Yeah, that's it's definitely the company to be slumming it with.
Exactly.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us, everybody. We're here discussing 2 more episodes of Sliders this week. It is New Gods for Old and Please Press 1. But before we get into those episodes, we have just a bit of by the way here at the beginning.
Just a little bit. Because we've been talking about how we were surprised that people knew about the O'Connells not coming back.
Yeah.
Which actually, you know, when I think about it, yeah, we should have known this. It's basically, if you're not connected, you know, online, then that's why. Because, you know, there are people who, like, check this stuff out back then in the late 90s, and I was not connected in the late 90s, so I didn't know that was happening. But for people who are really, you know, connected like these people were, that's why they knew. That's how it all happened, because they were already connected online. They had heard about the season ending, you know, they had posted stuff there, and I had no clue about that whole world back then.
Yeah, me neither. It was iReactions who sent us an email sort of clearing all that up for us, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was iReactions, you know, always getting some good info for us between him and Temporal Flux. I've learned a lot about Sliders I never knew.
Yeah, but no, I do remember the time. I mean, this is 99. I remember taking, like, my first computer class in high school, in or around 97. And so that was like, you know, you had it in the school, but at home, like, maybe we were just getting it or something, and it was dial up, and
Right,
I was in
yeah.
high school. Like, I spent my time hanging out in chat rooms and stuff. Like, that's what you did in 1999 on the internet.
Yeah, no, I remember all that. Yeah, I remember just trying to figure out. Like, I didn't understand it all. I was like, "What is this Netscape thing?" You know, like I didn't understand. Like, I didn't get the whole idea of what the internet was. It took me quite a while.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I didn't know you could find websites or message boards or
Yeah, exactly.
whatever
Yeah.
to learn all this stuff. So, yeah. Well, it was good of iReactions to sort of clear that up, that it was like they did have a big online presence, and that's why kind of everybody knew about it.
Oh yeah, and it all had to do with, like, I didn't know this back then, but like, it's like TV shows, they were filmed, months before they ever, were actually aired. Like, I didn't know that. So it's funny how naive you are when you're younger. It's like you just think, oh yeah, they made that show just, I just saw it yesterday, so they must have made it like last week or something. It's like you don't realize it's like months before that.
Yeah, and not to mention, like, when we started season 5, that it was airing only 2 months after season 4 ended, so they really just pushed it out.
Oh yeah,
almost as if to say, like, we know this is going off the edge. Like, let's just get it out there, get it done.
Exactly. We've lost it. We know.
It's a shame.
It is.
All right. Well, getting into our first episode discussion today. The episode is New Gods for Old, written by David Gerrold and directed by our old friend Richard Compton. And this originally aired on July 16th of 1999.
I'm afraid I don't have good news. Your spinal cord has been scorched.
But it'll heal, right?
Well,
I'll be able to walk again, right?
I'm sorry, I don't have the technology to help you. But with physical therapy, you should be able to regain some of the movement.
If you don't have the technology, who does?
Please, don't do anything stupid.
Doctor, you don't
Diana.
understand.
I understand all too well. You don't think I've seen a wound like this before. The war left thousands maimed with it, like me. Do you think that if there were a real chance for recovery, I would still be hobbling around on a stick?
But at least you can get around. This isn't your decision to make, it's mine. Who are you to play God?
You came to me for help, not them. Now that you found out that I can't help you, you'll go out this door, up the street, and straight to the believers, And they will promise your friend a blessing. Well, they promise everyone. And you are so desperate, you'll take it.
We begin with our sliders on the run from a group of soldiers called Burmen, narrowly making their slide as Mallory gets shot with a weapon as he enters it. In the next world, he finds he can't feel his legs, and his fear of being trapped in a wheelchair again comes forth. A local doctor named Krislov tries to help and warns against a local group whom claim a miracle cure called the Blessing, but our group, pressured by Mallory, investigates. While Mallory is ready to accept the cure these cult-like hippies offer, Remy and Diana find out the cure is actually tiny nanobots that take over your body, linking your mind together with anyone who drinks the Blessing. However, they are too late to stop him from taking it. Our trio tries to get through to Mallory to no avail, eventually being forced to force him to slide, cutting him off from the hive mind, causing him great resentment towards his friends. Mallory soon finds out that the bots are still inside him and extracts some to distribute to others of this world, hoping to recreate the hive mind peacefulness he felt on the last world. Remy, Maggie, and Diana recruit this dimension's Krislov again, and together they create the weapon the Burmen were using 2 worlds back to cleanse people of the nanobots. Meanwhile, Mallory has developed a following due to the nanobots, and when confronted by his friends to be cured and see how he feels, he agrees to prove that they are wrong and should believe in the Blessing. Mallory, saying he can easily take the Blessing again, uses the weapon on himself, despite his followers' protests, and loses his connection to his group, but still feels a strength in himself. He implores to the Blessed to make their own choice whether to stay in the hive mind or use the weapon to remove the nanobots as he and the rest of the sliders slide.
This is such a blessing. I feel...
Transformed in the most spiritual sense of the word.
It's like being able to see for 1,000 years in all directions. I've been such a jerk. So angry at everyone and everything. You two have been so wonderful to me. Can you forgive me?
You don't have to apologize. It's, just the way you get when you get the way you get.
But it hurt you. was wrong.
So how are you feeling now?
Transformation is a feeling of incredible joy and ecstasy.
He asked Mallory, what do you feel?
Joy and ecstasy.
Mallory.
I feel blurry, like I'm bigger than before. Like I'm living in a lot of different places at once, and this body is only a momentary focus. You should feel this, Remy. It's so spiritual.
All right, so we actually have a fair bit of trivia and behind-the-scenes stuff here.
Yeah, we do. We have quite a bit. So originally, this script was going to be for season 4, with Colin being the only one who wasn't infected. So instead of being just one person infected, it was all of them except one being infected.
Interesting.
And I don't know, like, I can't imagine how Colin not being the infected one, how would he have gotten through that? You know, it's like I could see, Mallory, accessing Quinn's smarts could do it, or Diana, but I'm not sure Colin. I mean, Colin's a smart guy, but again, he's from a different time, or not a different time, but his world was, not quite as advanced. So I don't know how he would have figured this out.
Well, maybe if it was like for later in the season, like it would have been like a progressive thing for Colin or something, like a Colin-centric one where he kind of has to step up and figure it out or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. That could have been. Quinn Crisis, with the whole idea of there being a Quinn and a Mallory together in the one mind, that's officially dead with this episode. They declared it dead, even in the story itself, at the very end. And mostly, apparently that is because Bill Dial just really didn't want to deal with that storyline anymore. One thing was he didn't want to give Jerry any respect. He was hurt that he left. So it's like, nah, forget, not dealing with it. Dameron and Dial were both having trouble with freelancers. They kept giving them conflicting notes about what was actually, the idea of that, or what was the idea of it going forward. They told freelancers to call him Quinn too, but then in other instances they said, no, call him Mallory. No, in other instances they said, call him Quinn. So it was like a whole, it was just, they weren't very organized, basically. And apparently Bill Dial was a big fan of solitaire and liked to spend a lot of his time playing solitaire. So when it came down to actually, putting together a show, it's like, I gotta win this solitaire game, So just give me some time.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like, wow.
It's Wade all over again.
Well, yeah, definitely.
It's not cool, but yeah. Rest in peace, Quinn. I mean, phew.
Yeah, it's too bad. Rob Floyd says that he both loves this episode, but was also disappointed by it. He said it's great concept, great writing. The idea of thinking about, free will, the self-harm, the collective mind and all that was a great idea to explore. But he was very sad that Quinn was gone from the whole idea, because he loved playing both sides of that. He liked being, Mallory, and he liked being Quinn. It gave him a chance to stretch his acting chops, and I could see that. I could definitely see that.
Yeah, I can echo those sentiments for sure.
Temporal Flux said, basically, referring back to the whole Quinn/Mallory thing, just Bill Dial just didn't want to rewrite, all the scripts to feature dual personalities. It's too much work. To go back and do all that and try to make it fit that storyline. So they just said, let's just drop it. Let's just drop it and forget about it. So that's why that whole storyline ended, which is too bad because, at first I was like, who's this guy? Who's this Rob Floyd? But now that I'm watching him, I like the idea of having both of them in there. I think it's a neat idea. Even if, they couldn't work it out so that Jerry O'Connell would come back at the end, I like the idea that there were two minds in there that, fighting for dominance.
Exactly. And it was the reason they gave us why Quinn had gone. So for them to just drop such a major thread it's not cool, man.
Exactly. Originally, the beginning of the episode was longer. Diana was apparently trying to hold back a little bit to see, who were these Burmen, and wondering, she made a comment about why the lights were a certain color. They were like red. She's like, why are they that color? I don't get it. Which comes into play when they recreate it. It has to be like the certain frequency of light they talked about or something. So there's a little bit more with the scientific side of Diana, and she's like, I don't think they're trying to hurt us, and then a shot goes off right next to him. She's like, oh my God, let's go, and they start running. So a little bit more in the beginning, more dialogue as they try to find a safe place to slide where they're not going to be, shot. Right before they slide, Mallory gets hit, I guess, in the leg or something. So he's not able to really, run and move as fast as he could, which is why when he jumps into the vortex, he gets hit, again.
Right.
And so he's unconscious when he gets through the vortex. He's laying on the ground. They're wondering if he's dead. When he starts to stir, Maggie says, I bet his first words are going to be, where am I? And then when he wakes up, his first words are actually, who am I? And he starts talking about dual personalities. They're like, who do you think you are? And he's like, my name's Mallory Quinn, I think. I can't remember. It was a weird little part in the beginning that they didn't keep really too much longer than that. Like it might have been a neat, I don't know if that's the way they were originally thinking to get rid of the Quinn and Mallory thing, like having him forget part of, who he was. But yeah, that's how it started off. He just wasn't sure if he was Quinn or he wasn't sure if he was a Mallory.
Well, again, it probably goes back to that, writing the dual personality back into the script or something like that. Where it's just like lost in whatever.
After Remy and Maggie go to find help, we had Diana and Mallory staying behind, and Mallory was like, don't worry, we'll stay right here. We won't go anywhere, After they leave, in the original script, you were going to stay with Diana and Mallory, and they were going to have an argument because she's mad about his attitude, since he realizes he can't use his legs, he has that attitude, and she's mad at him for it, and he's mad at her because she's always interfering with things he wants to do. And there's a conversation about how they were on that Berman world, and he was trying to get information from some of them, but she kept interfering and messing things up. So they had a not good time together in that little scene that we didn't get to see. And even when they encounter the hippies, Mallory says, these guys are supposed to fix my legs. And Diana says, that or your attitude. So there's like a lot of like little fighting there between the two of them, which they just cut out. When Diana and Remy talk to Krislov about the hippies, Remy starts talking and Diana finishes his sentence a few times in this conversation. And Krislov makes a comment saying, are you too sure you didn't drink the blessing yourselves? Because the way they're finishing their sentence, just like the hippies do.
Right.
This is a funny little part that they cut out. There was a separate conversation about Mallory seeming creepy now after he takes the blessing. We have Diana, Remy, and Maggie, and they're talking about, boy, he's a little strange the way he's acting now. And Maggie makes a comment about maybe it's just Quinn trying to come back, and like Diana is like I don't know if she's supposed to say it like shouting or angry, but like it was all exclamation points in the script. And she's like, it's not Quinn. He's gone off sliding somewhere. You need to let it go. And I was like, that's weird. That's like a weird line.
Yeah, what a weird thing to say.
I know, because Quinn is not sliding. He's stuck inside of Mallory. So
yeah.
it was a weird thing to say. And there's a little bit more in that conversation about how they're starting to envy Mallory's peaceness, or peacefulness, how he feels so connected. Like they start to envy it in that conversation. Further, about his being blessed, he starts to tempt the other sliders into taking the water, into drinking the water. He has a deep conversation with Remy about God, about connecting to God, knowing God, and Remy starts to come around a little bit. He says to Maggie, if you just drink this water, you'll feel this connectedness, and Quinn is inside me. You'll be able to feel that. You'll be able to feel Quinn again. Like really getting in there and trying to, tempt them. And with Diana, he's just saying, just stay and enjoy this, enjoy what I can show you with this blessing. So really trying to get them, to drink. It got very like melodramatic, that eventually, the sliders aren't tempted. And as they open the vortex, Maggie jumps in and she yells out, I love you, Quinn, wherever you are. What? It's like, he's right there. He's inside. It was just so strange. Like, I don't get why. I don't get where that comes into play. I don't know if it was just, again, it's probably just the whole misconceptions on the freelance writers because, Bill Dial and Dameron not communicating with them, I guess. It was just weird. It was just so strange.
I like all the stuff with like Mallory trying to give them the hard sell
Yes.
Like, that sounds like it would fit really well. And then, a nice deep conversation with Remy about religion and stuff. In the episode, really, it's just pared down to that one line where he says it, the hand of God and stuff like that. And Remy's like, I do know that feeling. And then it's over. That's gone. So
Exactly.
I wish that was there. But yeah, the cheesy stuff, Maggie calling out the corn stuff, rough.
I love you, Quinn, wherever you are. and then, and Diana, too. Like, she says that, she actually says that she loves Mallory. She goes, I love you, Mallory. And I'm trying to remember now. Did she say they kiss and then she slides? It was just, it seems so out of place. It really that part seemed really out of place. As Mallory's talking, we learn that also animals in that world had become blessed. They drank the water. So you are also connected with the animals, which it sounds silly, but then you think about it, that also goes towards that whole God feeling, that connected with God feeling, like you're connected with every part of the world. So it makes sense.
That could have been interesting.
Yeah, it could have been interesting. Let's see. Maggie, Remy, and Diana argue about staying together. Mallory, at one point, wants to go off on his own after they force him to slide. He's not happy. He's mad. And Remy kind of agrees with him that maybe we should stop sliding together. Maybe we should just go home, go off on our own, because he says they're falling apart. Which kind of like, I kind of agree, because lately he's been trying to force this whole, we're a team. He keeps saying it. He said it a couple times so far. And it's like they don't really gel together yet, though. So yeah. I could see where this scene came from.
Well, again, that seems like it was pared down as well, just to
a
little snippet.
Oh yeah, definitely. Originally, when Jill drank the water that Mallory was giving her, Diana wasn't present because you wonder why she just didn't stop Jill from drinking the water, but she just stands there and watches. Yeah. But she wasn't supposed to be there originally. Krislov, there was a scene with him walking around his place trying to find the stuff to build the dead man's leg. He's like, let's see, I'm going to need this and a couple of these and that. And Diana's kind of helping him, but there's nothing really going on besides him just pulling stuff out of drawers, And I was like, yeah, it's good they got rid of that.
Yeah, cut that.
Yeah, but the scene ends with Remy looking shocked, and they're like, well, what's wrong? And he's like, we just reinvented the Burman. So they had that scene in there. It's just done a little differently, better, I think.
Yeah.
And then someone makes a comment, and Remy says, "Yeah, I never had to cure someone of God before. It's just a weird thing for him, having to cure someone of God." And then finally, this was a lot of stuff. When they're captured by Mallory, Maggie says Quinn would never do that. Referring to being forced to drink. Quinn would never do that. And Mallory says, "I'm not Quinn." And it's like, exactly.
Cutting it deep.
Exactly. So a lot of stuff for this episode. A lot of stuff.
It's crazy, yeah. And it's a testament to those freelance writers, just all this stuff getting thrown out there and they're just cutting it to shreds.
Exactly.
All right, well, I guess we may as well just get in a quick impression here before we move forward, eh?
Yes, why not?
I think we have time, maybe. Let's just do it. Cue the music.
Kermit examines some water through a microscope while Tony, Todd, and Arturo look on. You didn't drink any of this, did you? Here, you see this? Billions of biological nanotech engines! They can reproduce themselves like blood cells, and yes, they can rebuild his spinal cord cell by cell!
But you said there was a cost.
I didn't know who Tony Todd was. Okay.
He was Candyman.
Okay. How do you think they get their instructions, They link up and combine processing power. Like a network? The network programs the individual machines. They communicate by tiny pulses of light, and that's why they glow! Yay! And scene. Oh gosh, yeah, I didn't know who Tony Todd was. I'm like, all right. I looked him up. And I saw his face. I'm like, I think I recognize him, but I don't know from where. And he did the voice. I'm like, oh my god, that's his voice. Okay, okay.
I thought it was time to bust out a new one.
Yeah. There you go.
And it can be construed as the claw from Inspector Gadget.
Yeah.
Get you next time, Gadget.
Yeah, going along that same lines, I was thinking that sounds like Darkseid from the old, Justice League. I'm like, same thing.
But the thing is, I got to keep it to short lines because it is actually really hard on my throat.
Oh, I bet. Well done, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Quinn is gone. For good.
I know. I'm beginning to like Mallory.
You believe that?
Yeah, I feel it.
I don't. And I won't.
I just didn't want to lose you.
Thank you.
So, who are you now?
I'm still finding out. But isn't that true for all of us?
Okay, so getting into our discussion of New Gods Roll.
The first thing I wanted to mention was the writer of the episode. This is major. This is David Gerald. David Gerald, most people know from Star Trek because he's done, a number of Star Trek stories. The most famous, of course, is the Trouble with Tribbles episode. Right. So he's the writer of that, and he's written books, Yeah, very big a name in Star Trek lore. And also, of course, the book that we mentioned a couple times now, The Man Who Folded Himself. So he's the writer of that as well. So he's a big name in the sci-fi universe, David Gerald. So cool that we get a script by him, or a story by him, which is just awesome. I was very excited about that.
Talk about slumming it before. I mean,
exactly.
David Gerald.
I know.
Slumming it on Slider Season 5.
Yeah, all the stuff he's done, it's like, well, let's do this. I got a couple extra minutes here. Let's throw a script out. So, but no, I'm glad.
It's interesting that you say it's David Gerald who wrote this one, and I have to say, I think this is a better script for the season. I mean, this is a really good idea, and I echoed the sentiments that Rob Floyd had said while we were talking in our trivia. About how it is. It's a really good idea, but you get to the end and they throw away the Quinn storyline, and you're like, ugh, seriously? They're just going to throw that away? It was such a big line. There was hope that Quinn was coming back. I mean, they couldn't get back Jerry O'Connell, so that was never going to happen. But to just throw it away at the end of this episode, and you're like, oh, man, seriously?
I know. Yeah, I was disappointed that they did that, And I don't remember that from watching it originally. I just remember it from this rewatch, and I'm like, oh, that sucks. I was hoping it would continue on longer than it did.
Yeah, but I think the cool thing here, we get it here at the beginning, because we're going to slide across 3 different worlds. And Diana introduces this cool concept where she says it's like we're passing through a bunch of similar worlds that branch out from similar choice points. So it's like, we go from world to world to world, and they're all kind of similar, but they've skewed in different directions because of the choices that were made.
Yeah.
It's an interesting way to look at sliding, It's not just every world is a different world. You pass through sections as, choices diverge into extremes.
Yeah, no, I like that idea.
So it's cool, and we start off with the Burmen, and they are chasing our sliders.
Yeah, we don't know why.
Yeah, and then when they get to the Mallory's shot, and then they get to the next world, and they talk about how they were asked if they were believers.
Right.
And of course, Remy said yes.
Exactly.
And that was the thing, was the Burmen wiped out the believers. But in the next world, it was kind of like the believers kind of got rid of them in a way. Yes. Or at least they won the war. So they're off doing their own separate peaceful thing or whatever it is they do.
No one bothers them. They just can kind of hang out in their commune. It's like, whatever, It's like, leave them alone over there.
Yeah, and we get a bit of development for Mallory, too, because, he's shot in the back, and he can't feel his legs. And, of course, we knew that he was really sick, and, all of Diana's experiments and stuff like that kind of cured him. So he's got the fear that he's going to end up back in that wheelchair.
Yeah, it was really good on his part, like, because you can't imagine, like, you're cured after all this time, and then suddenly you have you might be going right back into the wheelchair. It's like, no, I'm not doing a wheelchair. I'm not doing it. Like he's freaking out. So it was very good for his character. Well done.
Yeah, and I know they try to play it off a bit funny too. As soon as he says, "I'm not going back into a wheelchair," we cut to them bringing him a wheelchair.
Right. Yeah.
So it's they're trying to keep it a bit light. They don't want to go too dark, but it does give Mallory the impetus to go and take the blessing.
Yeah.
His whole thing about not wanting to do this. I will do anything not to be in this situation. So, it drives the plot forward. It's very organic.
Yeah, I never thought for a second that he wouldn't take the blessing.
Yeah.
When they went off to go get it analyzed or whatever, I thought you should take him with you because he's going to do it. There's no way he's not going to do it. And the way he did drink it, just like with Maggie just staring off, looking for the other guys, I'm like, oh, so lame. Come on, Maggie,
I know. The whole time, you just as soon as he's alone,
I know.
He's just going to drink it. We're just waiting for that moment.
Mm-hmm.
But before we even get to there, we do get the Krislov character.
Yes.
And this guy, man, he's killing it, I think, in every scene. What a great character.
He is. Now, do you know who Krislov is?
He kind of looked familiar. I didn't really look too deep into who he actually is.
He's the actor who played Chromanus.
Oh, really?
Yep. Same guy.
Well, he was one of our favorite Cro-Mag characters.
Exactly.
Too.
When he goes into his human form back then, you could definitely see it then.
Right.
But yeah, he's a very I've seen him in other things as well. So yeah, he's a character actor. But yeah, that was Chromanus.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, no, I do remember because he gets killed off at the end too, Chromanus, with the annihilation device thing.
Right.
And we were kind of annoyed that they would kill off such a good character.
I know, exactly.
Even for a Cro-Mag, so...
yeah, because the actor does a great job, He's a good actor. He makes you believe in his character, so...
Yeah.
Yep.
And, so he has this whole thing, He doesn't, just come out with the whole thing about Jill, his daughter.
Right.
That kind of just sort of, it rolls along, it comes out. Again, it's an organic progression, He sort of just mentions it, but he doesn't go into detail or anything.
No.
These are a bunch of strangers.
Yeah, this is not like Diggs territory.
Yeah. Just let it play out, So
Exactly.
I'm really liking that.
Yeah.
They head off to see the Believers. Remy and Diana actually get some of the water, what they call the blessing.
Yes.
And they are going to take that back to Krislov to get checked out, leaving, of course, Mallory and Maggie there. And yes, as soon as Maggie turns her back, Mallory's getting in on it. So
exactly,
it comes out that it's nanotech pretty much. They invented this nanotech for healing purposes, whatever. And, as it got into more people and pretty much replicated itself, like cells, there's just billions upon billions of them inside your body. It became self-aware and then started, connecting with all the other ones and all the other people, becoming ostensibly a hive mind.
It's a neat idea. It's a very neat idea. And, it feels like, to me, when I was watching this, I didn't realize it was David Gerald until after the fact, but watching it does feel very much like something that would have been a Star Trek episode, just because that's the way he writes. That's David Gerald's thing. It just felt really familiar to me. I'm like, yeah, this is this could have existed back in the original series, the Star Trek original series show. Could have been something just like this.
Yeah, it would have even fit in Next Generation or something. This could have been written as a origin story for the Borg or something.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
They're not violent. They're actually hippies, which is just an interesting way to look at it. And so instead of playing this violence like they did on the first world, here the blessing it gives them this presence of God or something like that, as if they're communing. They share everything, all emotions and stuff like that. Like you said in the trivia, the animals had been infected as well, so they're communing with the animals, and you can understand how that could be construed as feeling the presence of God, knowing so many things, being in so many places at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a cool way to look at it. I really like that idea. It's not fleshed out very well in total, but in return, we do get the thing of going to another world after we're done on this second world.
Yes.
So as soon as they drag him through the vortex, again, it's something I kind of saw coming. Like when Remy was like, "Come and see us off." I'm like, yeah, you're just going to grab him and drag him into the vortex.
Yeah.
You know, that's still pretty early in the episode. So, you know, you got the whole rest of the episode to sort of see how he is going to react to that. Is he going to be grateful? Is he just going to be separated from the hive mind?
Right.
And all's well? Or, as it turns out, is he going to feel resentment towards the rest of the Sliders because of what they've taken away from him?
Yeah, because they've broken his link, to his connection to the whole, you know, the whole community there. I can understand that. I can get that, why he's mad and, you know, not happy about it.
And I think Rob Floyd does a great job too. You know, when he comes out of the hotel, they're not at the Chandler, thank God, they're not at the Chandler.
I know, exactly. They avoided the use of the Chandler. Thank goodness.
But, you know, they bring back the Krislov character, and here it really never took off at all. And he and Jill run like a bed and breakfast type hotel together, and that's where they're staying. And Mallory comes out, he looks like he's been on a 4-day bender or something like that. Just absolutely annoyed that they've dragged. He's not going to sit with them and have breakfast. He's just going to be off here, and he's going to give his whole woe is me stuff. So I think Rob Floyd's doing a really good job here.
Oh yeah, he's doing a great job. Like he said, he loved this episode. It was fun to do that, you know, fun to play all the different parts, not just Quinn, you know, and Mallory, but the idea of being connected, you know, and then losing that, being forced out of it. It was fun.
And, you know, they could have easily just had this be the rest of the story.
Yeah.
Mallory coming to terms with what he'd lost, trying to resolve things with the Sliders and stuff like that. But instead, they do continue to make it interesting.
Yeah.
And they sort of play it close to the chest, but he is still infected.
Yeah. I mean, they may have disconnected him from everyone else, but that's still in his body. So, yeah.
At first, he tries to sort of get them to drink some water. Playfully, you know, that whole, I give you water, may you never thirst bit, you know, try to make it seem like, you sneaky Mallory, I get it. But he's actually genuinely doing that because he wants to infect them.
Exactly.
And then he starts giving the hard sell to Jill because, you know, we didn't get much backstory on her. You know, we knew that Jill was Krislov's daughter. They never actually confirmed at that point that that woman there at the hippie commune was Jill. Because they're a hive mind. So here, you do find out that, yes, she is Jill. And maybe the reason she took it in the first place was because she has some sort of spinal deformity. She limps when she walks, her feet are inverted. So you could see why her character took it in the first place and why Mallory's going to be able to talk her into doing it again now.
Yep.
So I don't know. Towards the end, how did you feel about like how it all came together? Because I thought it was kind of quick, you know, the whole following and everything, and then what they're going to have to do. So,
well, I guess them coming back around to being the Berman themselves, I think was cool. I think it's a neat idea, you know, to sort of like cap the episode off with that. Like they became, you know, the people they were actually running away from in the very beginning. It's a neat twist. But yeah, having the suddenly having this huge following, you know, it was like that seemed a little sudden. Like he really got a lot of followers very quickly. But I guess, you know, how that stuff works, it cures you of what you're feeling. And there was a lot of like, you know, older people there. So, you know, as you get older, of course, your body, you know, gets a little bit more broken down. So they must have been feeling pretty good. So I could see how they would get a lot of followers, I guess, that quickly. So it kind of fits, you know, it kind of fits the whole idea. I was fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not totally upset by it. I just thought it was just a little too quick, and it just seemed to gather together so fast. And I admit, like, when he puts the nanobots in that glass of water and tries to give it to the other Sliders, they figure it out, of course. But the whole time, like, afterwards, I was like, what are you going to do with that cup of water? Like, what would you do with that? Like, you can't tip it down the sink or something like that, because then it's just gonna filter back into out into the world, and like it could infect anybody. So I can see how it would get there quickly. Just from an episode perspective, it just seemed to suddenly be, I've got this whole following, and then you know, Krislov develops the dead man's light for them, and that happens really quick.
Yeah, that happened quick. For me, that was the quickest part. Like, you know, I'll just make this dead man's light, you know, like just like that. I mean, I know he had the plans or whatever for it, right? So it was not, extremely difficult, but still, that part seemed quick to me.
Yeah, and when they're shooting everybody, well, not shooting everybody, but running the light over them to shut down the nanotech, we see Jill, and she pretty much has the same reaction as Mallory. Like, she's quite upset.
Yeah.
That it's gone, even though she is healed. It has healed her.
Yeah.
She no longer has that twisted spine.
Yep.
She has lost that connection that she had. So there is something real about the connection. If it's godly or whatever is, debatable.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Probably not. It's man-made technology, but
exactly.
It's interesting, that she has the same reaction, but this time when Mallory says, "Look, I can do it. I'm fine. I'll be back with you soon. I'm just going to prove to you."
Right.
This time around, when he comes out of it, and they appeal to his sense of independence and everything, that he does decide that, this isn't right. Even though it feels really good to have this connection, there's something lost here in your own individual self.
The next part, he gives the speech, like when he, gets all that, he gives this speech to his followers. When he was giving that speech, to me, that felt like I felt Quinn coming out there. Like I felt that was like, could have been our Quinn given that speech because of all the speeches that Quinn has given, in the past. Unfortunately, like we said, they say he's gone. But that speech to me, I don't know, that sounded like Jerry. I don't know if he was trying to give a little bit more of Jerry's impression or what, but to me it sounded like he was. But maybe it's just me remembering all the great Jerry O'Connell or all the great Quinn Mallory speeches we've heard over the course of the series.
Yeah, and I know I was saying, it's so terrible that they throw away the Quinn character here. They sort of throw something else out as well. Mm-hmm. And it's a weird sequence. It really is. Because Mallory comes in and says, Quinn's gone, whatever.
Right.
Maggie says, it's okay. I'm starting to like Mallory. And I'm like,
yeah.
Seriously? Like, you just said that. But then Remy is like, seriously? Do you believe this? Because I don't. I believe Quinn is still there somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
So I can see that. I can see what you mean. Like, this Quinn coming out of Mallory. Mm-hmm. Like he is still in there somewhere, like maybe not physically present, but something has remained in Mallory that sort of helps him, I don't know, be a better person or something like that.
Yeah, because he was like, I won't accept that. He's like, I don't accept that at all. I was like, oh man, and it's too bad because we know that he really is gone. Jerry O'Connell's not coming back, so sorry, Remy.
Yeah, I am annoyed about Maggie's reaction to it, but
it was weird.
I loved Remy's reaction to it.
It's like she spent a whole lifetime with Quinn in the Bubble universe, and now she's just like, oh, it's fine. I like Mallory. It's all right. Well, whatever.
Yeah, but at the same time, I will give it one final compliment. The shot of them sliding out actually kind of looked really nice.
No, okay. I didn't really pay any particular attention to it, but cool.
Yeah, I don't know. They kind of just open the vortex there, and then it cuts to this wide shot of the four of them sort of running across the cobbled streets. I think they use it in the opening credits, too, before they hit the sliders.
Right.
They use that shot of them sort of jumping into it. Oh, yeah, it's an interesting looking shot.
Right, yeah. No. Cool.
But all in all, I think this could be a high point of the season.
Definitely. Yeah, when I was watching it, I thought that.
Quinn disappearing aside. This was a high point for the season.
Definitely. Yeah, no, it's like I said, I was watching this and it just felt like a familiar episode, like something that I would like, oh yeah, I've seen this story done before, or I like the way this story is. I would watch it again, because it's well done. It's a good idea for a story, and the twist around at the end where they become not the bad guys, but become like the bad guys. It was like, I thought that was cool. That was cool. So good on David Gerrold.
And now it's time for another episode of Explain Everything with Dr. Diana Davis.
This is definitely a camera. This other device looks like some kind of a scanner.
This has been another episode of Explain Everything with Dr. Diana Davis.
All right, so let's get into our second episode discussion today. The episode is Please Press 1, written by our old friend Bill Bigelow.
Who is not David Gerald at all. Not at all.
Yeah, it's written by William Bigelow. Directed
Bill
by
Bigelow.
Directed by Paul Lynch. And this originally aired on July 23rd of 1999.
Hello, and good day from all you friends at Data Universal. I'm 5579A, and I'll be your personal account representative.
Where the hell am I?
If you'll just hold your barcode up to the screen, we can process your application as quickly as possible.
I didn't apply for anything. I was kidnapped and brought here.
We're sorry you've fallen through the bureaucratic cracks, but with your speedy cooperation, we can have you mainstreamed in no time.
No time is what I've got. I have friends who are expecting me. Now, why am I here?
Why, you attempted to use money, of course.
And you don't use money here, of course. What was I thinking? So tell me, what's the drill, huh? Is it a chip in the head or a bone graft? Or is this idiot bracelet the key to the bank, huh? You know, just for once, I'd like to put a coin in a slot and get a lousy pack of gum instead of being sucked into some kind of gulag. Is that too much to ask for, Mr. Number?
It's 5579A.
Whatever.
I'm sorry you seem to be so upset, but we really can't proceed until you're scanned into the system.
Scan this.
Our sliders find themselves in the new dimension and in need of sustenance, so they decide to raid the local vending machines, which are run, along with seemingly everything else in this dimension, by a company called Data Universal. Attempting to use cash to pay her vending machine gets Maggie in hot water. She finds herself abducted by a robotic van and dropped off at a Data Universal processing center where she will be evaluated and re-educated before being released back to the outside world. Remy, Diana, and Mallory gain the help of a former Data Universal employee named Arlo, who lives off the grid, not succumbing to Data Universal's ways, and offers to help get them inside to save their friend before slide time arrives. After a few attempts, they manage to get control of one of the robotic vans and infiltrates Data Universal. Meanwhile, Maggie has made friends with her caseworker, a man she nicknames Guy, in an attempt to win him over and hopefully also her freedom. She also encounters other people like Arlo who refuse to play Data Universal's game but who have been held inside by the company marked as incomplete files. Using Guy's friendship, Maggie orders material for a bomb and busts out of the holding area. She soon encounters an actual human from what Data Universal calls Sector Control, and he informs her that they have found the real Maggie Beckett elsewhere in the world and that this Maggie must be a copy and will therefore be deleted. Between commercials, Maggie gets escorted by the tiny black remote-controlled car that the Wookiee Chewbacca growls at in Star Wars A New Hope before being assisted by Guy and eventually runs into Remy and crew, who then use her homemade bombs to blow up the tiny death machine. Arlo decides to become a force for change, helping people to see how they can live without Data Universal controlling their lives as our sliders slide.
That's you?
Yeah, it's me.
You worked for Data Universal?
I put in my time.
Arlo Higgins, Data Universal's account rep of the month.
So what do they do?
Simply put, they take care of you. Provided, of course, you play by their rules.
What do you do with all this stuff?
Well, I thought about having a garage sale, but everybody else has more stuff than I do. Yeah, it's one big, efficient cycle. You work for Data Universal just to buy all their stuff. They know what you like to eat, to wear, to read, to drive. They got all your sizes.
So nobody has to think at all.
Yeah, like that guy at the newsstand.
What a way to live.
Ah! Yeah, check this out. This was my stash before Data Universal took over and assigned everybody a single number.
It's quite a collection.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this was my favorite. Issued by American Provincial Bank, 1989. It's very rare. It's never been swiped.
So they know everything about you, kind of a big brother.
Data. That's all you become. Numbers, codes, files. You're no longer a person. You're just a consumer. And if you're not a consumer, you're not a person.
What if you change your personal preferences? Change your mind?
If they want you to change your mind, they'll change it for you.
All right, so a bit of trivia, not as much as the last episode.
Yeah,
but
definitely not.
Just a little bit here.
Yeah, there was nothing major for deleted scenes, really. I mean, Mallory landed on a bush instead of a dumpster. Arlo makes a mention of the hotshot that replaced him, which, of course, later he learns is a computer. And Remy says, when they say it's Data Universal's, the long arm of Data Universal, he says, well, it needs a nail trim, That was pretty much it for the actual deleted scenes. It's like, yeah, whatever. Now, here's the whole thing. Keith Dameron, of course, was he the story editor or I forget what he was. He's the chief writer or something this season. I should know, but I forget. He considered this episode a tribute to the dystopian regimes of season 1. And I'm like, no.
Nah.
No, not at all. Sorry. Wrong. He also, though, even though he considered this a tribute, he was disappointed with what they called the scoops. He was disappointed with the van, and he was disappointed with the little guy, who was escorting Maggie later. He said they should have been much more terrifying. Yeah, they should have been. That's one thing that they should have been. Originally, I guess, apparently, and I'm not familiar with this show, The Prisoner, it was being filmed nearby on the lot, I guess. So there were a lot of references to that show. And I guess one of them is the truck, the van, was supposed to have a claw, like a terrifying claw, instead of a tractor beam. And I guess that's something having to do with The Prisoner, from what I understand, from what Iraction said. And like I said, I'm not familiar with The Prisoner, so I'm not sure exactly, where the in-jokes are with that. But there apparently were a lot in there.
There you go.
There was a standing refusal at this point on the Sliders to not buy any scripts with the Sliders teaming up with the Resistance. They're like, we're not doing that anymore,
We're done with Resistances.
Yeah, which I get, I understand, but, it does mean that they had to reject a number of, probably interesting stories, there was one about Nazis winning World War II, or where the South won the Civil War, It's like some really interesting things that maybe they could sink their, writing, teeth into, they had to refuse because of that. But, customer service from hell is cool with Damon, or Dameron. Sorry, we'll take that. We'll take that. So, I gotta agree, with Iraqis
Customer
there.
service from hell.
Yeah, it's like this is a good idea. Never mind about Nazis winning. That's nothing. We don't want any resistance stuff. Let's talk about please press 1. It's like okay. Originally, Arlo was not supposed to be a disgruntled employee. He was supposed to be just a hacker teen, who wanted to hack into the system and, mess it up, which kind of makes sense because, well, we could talk about that in the discussion. But, yeah, Arlo was different. They knew at this point that Sliders wasn't coming back. So they tried to make the episodes very cheaply. The idea was if we can make these episodes cheaper, we can save, the money from this episode and use it to film this amazing epic series finale, but it never got filmed. So they saved money for whatever reason now, and this actually turned out to be the cheapest episode of the season because there's not that many guest stars. There's just a couple, small handful. And it's pretty much just like all hallways, there's not much to the sets at all. So they did save a lot of money on this episode.
Yeah, quick, shoot it on the back a lot, shoot some stuff in a room.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, I guess we got time for a quick impression.
Yes, we do.
Maybe Tony Todd will reappear. Cue the music.
Hick, Tony Todd, Kermit the Frog, and Ellen Rickman slide in. The Hick slams into a wall and falls in a dumpster. Whoa!
Are you all right?
Never better. Man, is that fun. When's the next ride leave?
We've got a 10-hour layover, Mr. Olympiad. I'm starving.
So, what should we call this place? Data Universal?
Data Universal. Something like that is always never there for you.
Data Universal Hardware, Data Universal Pharmacy, Data Universal Travel.
What about Data Universal Eats? 'Cause I'm starving.
Hick eyes a vending machine. You got any coins? Oh, no, yuck, no junk food. I need real food.
Yeah. Let's go on a pasta hunt, huh?
And scene. I'm just picturing Snape, saying that. I need pasta. Waving his wand or something. El pastorone.
There will be no silly pasta hunts in this class.
Mr. Mallory.
Welcome to the waiting room. Data Universal thanks you for spending time with us.
Hello, I'm James. Welcome to the waiting room.
Maggie Beckett. Okay, are you being reprocessed here too?
No, I'm a refuser. Call me a prisoner of conscience.
Well, I guess I'm one of those too. At least I refused to make the ridiculous choices my account rep wanted me to.
Huh, good for you. But if they're reprocessing you, they must think you have promise. You could be out of here soon.
Yeah. How long have you been here?
6 years.
Okay, so let's get into our discussion of Please Press 1. I'll say this off the bat. Coming off the back of the last episode, this one's pretty weak.
Pretty weak? Yeah. I'd go beyond pretty weak.
Yeah, so we slide in. I have to call this out. The vortex looks a little different here. It looks like a mashup of like the old and the most recent incarnation of the vortex. Kind of had like a watery swirl to it this time.
Yeah, I never noticed the vortex now because I'm so used to them doing it like off screen, like the last season. I hadn't really paid that close attention to the vortex.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was weird. They just had this close up of the vortex open. I just thought, oh, they haven't just gone that generic blue hole thing that they've been doing
right
for the last little while. It kind of just had that watery shimmer to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, just random that they would do that.
Yeah.
Maybe they're spending some of that extra money.
Yeah, exactly.
Making it look a bit better.
Mm-hmm.
But we find that everything is run by this company called Data Universal. And Maggie is hauled off for not having a data number.
Right, yes.
Which, I don't know, it's... like, it's just so... It's generic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it's generic to have everything run by Data Universal. This plot is just generic, They go up to a vending machine, they try to use money, but, everybody has their Data Universal barcode.
Right.
So she's just going to get hauled away.
Well, someone says it in the Messages in Time, but I had thought about it when I was watching this. I was like, man, this is just like the episode with the mall, the super mall, up in the
right
up in the sky, Season Greetings. I'm like, this is just like that, a worse version of that.
Yeah, it's not like it's a bad idea or anything.
No, it's a good idea when it's done good.
Exactly,
like Season Greetings,
Yeah, but just sort of like having a world where everybody is just pared down to a number, everything that they want, everything that they know. It's an interesting look at society, even today.
Oh, yeah.
Just thinking of people as a number and just catering to their every need. You don't need to think about it. They go one step further and have this thing like when nobody really talks to anybody else. And people seem freaked out when people on the street are trying to talk to you. Yeah. You're just like, man, if that's the kind of world we live in, then the human race isn't going to go very far because we do need to meet, we need to socialize, we need to have sex and procreate.
Exactly.
Like, if nobody interacted with anybody else, then the human race is just disappearing. Yeah, so it goes too far.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so and that's when it falls down. But I think the character that we're introduced here to, he calls himself 5579A. I kind of like this interaction between him and Maggie. The fact that she sort of refuses to give him that name or refer to him by that name, so she just refers to him as Guy.
Right.
Which is really funny. And because she's got, she's given the pushback from the get-go because she doesn't want to be thought of just as a number. She won't even scan her barcode in. so they can sort of get this process moving. You can see that it's true to her character. So I think this is probably the strongest part of the episode for me.
Yeah, I like him. I liked him a lot until the part where he gets a little bit psycho on her. Like he has like a severe personality change, just like boom, just like that. He finds out she has like no debt because she's already in the system because he's gonna mind scan her or whatever. And like all of a sudden, like his screen goes dark and there's this ominous lighting on his face all of a sudden, you know, and like, you know, he sends her off, you know, and like he was a little bit, that was strange, you know, for, you know, it turns out he's a computer, you know, he's just a computer simulation of a guy or whatever. So it's weird that was like the reaction. So it must have been programmed in that if someone comes up with no debt to go all like psycho on their ass.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a complete 180 of like what should be happening here.
Yeah.
It's a company that is supposed to cater to your every need. Like, why
Right.
would they go psycho nuts on you like that? Like, the world would just live in fear all the time instead of trusting this company with everything.
Yeah. You know, and then like as soon as like Maggie's out of the room, the lighting goes away and he's like, "I'm sorry, Maggie." You know, it's like, "Oh, you gotta get some counseling. You need some severe counseling, some medication, something."
Yeah, that's weird. But of course, they find one guy out on the streets.
Yes.
Who is not into the whole Data Universal thing.
Right.
It's just this shaggy, homeless-looking dude called Arlo Higgins.
I don't know. He was okay, but I don't know. The way he played it, like he was kind of really gung-ho and wanting to take down the system all of a sudden. You know, it's like never thought about doing it before, just now. And he's so into it. Like, it might have been better to have him as a young hacker teen because he was so like, I don't know, his attitude was just so energetic and just like, I don't know. There was something about him. I just was like, he's all right.
It was strange that, you know, he sort of plays this homeless guy kind of thing.
Right.
But in this world, a homeless guy still has like a lot of stuff. Because
exactly.
He used to be in the system, but the fact that he actually no longer uses the system means that he sort of has fallen into this homelessness.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of made me think, like, how does he get food and stuff like that? Like, it was... Maggie got hauled away just for trying to get something out of a vending machine without her data number. So, like, where's he getting all his food and stuff from? At least the people locked up in the Data Universal facility were getting meals delivered to them. So, yeah.
Well, see, he does have all those spare data bracelets, so maybe he just uses those, you know?
Yeah.
To
but then why does he look like a homeless dude?
Exactly. Now, see, my thing is I don't get the people who are inside in the waiting room. Why are they just being held there? Like, is Data Universal were they trying to fix them, or what were they trying to do with them? I know they said they're incomplete files, but then why even have them just delete them? If they're incomplete files, just delete them. And, you know, obviously you can't fix them after 6 years. You know, they've been there. I don't understand that part of the story.
Yeah, they were ready to delete, quote unquote, Maggie.
Yeah, like in an instant. And these guys have been here for 6 years. It's like, why not just delete them? They're actually incomplete files, or what you call them. So it's like, come on.
Yeah, and James doesn't seem like a terrible person or something like that. You think like 6 years in a small room would send you a bit nuts.
Right.
Or something like that. Like, he still seems like he's pretty well-rounded, regardless of his, fear of going outside at this point. But, yeah. Just weird characterization for that character. I think it could have just been played a bit differently.
Yeah. See, now, the whole James guy, he was just, I don't know, the way he played his stuff just made me think of, like, he seemed like a poor man's Chris Tucker. This is the way he was acting. You know, like when Maggie's making the bomb and he's doing these motions off to the side, like, oh, a bomb. Whatever, just a bomb. Like, it just seemed like he was playing up the comedy side of it a little bit, which is fine. But it just, like, I don't know. I felt like he was just doing an impression of someone that we've seen before. You know, that type of character. I was not invested in his character at all. Like, I could care less about his character. You know, Maggie tries to bust him out, and he goes with her for a little bit, but he's like, nah, I'm going back. You know, it's like, whatever. Go back then, you know. I don't know. I just didn't like his character.
No, I totally agree. But I do like Maggie's plan of getting out there, actually.
Oh,
the
yeah.
fact that she says, like, hey, I do want to spend money.
Yeah.
Can I order out? And they're like, yes, go ahead.
Right,
If
it
you
was
want to
good
start
thinking.
spending, do it.
Yeah.
And she just orders up all the materials she needs to make a bomb.
Yeah, I think it was a good idea, great idea to do that. I just like the people, like, and the other faceless people, really, who are hanging out in the waiting room that have nothing to do but just, you know, be set pieces. I was just like, yeah, I don't care about this part of it at all. It's like, I understand. I mean, I guess James kind of plays a part, you know, but I mean, I think the story could have survived without him. You know, if it was just Maggie busting out on her own, it would have been fine.
No, I agree. It is kind of just a nothing character with a bad characterization.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and at the same time, the other sliders are trying to bust their way in.
What did you
They
think
go
of
through
that?
the whole thing. Yeah, this whole thing about trying to get scooped up. Like, why don't they just get scooped up? Why did they have to go through all this effort of trying to get the freaking car and actually drive it in there?
I know. They're like, like having it chase them, you know, jumping on top, trying it multiple times. This just reminded me of what we were talking about last time, about how they were going to pad the episodes out with repetitive scenes, repetitive dialogue. That's what this seemed like to me. It's like, all right, we need to fill another 2 minutes. So first have Arlo do it, and that won't work out. And then we'll have Mallory do it, and that will work out. You know, it was just ridiculous.
Yeah, because like as soon as they get there, they go down the chute just as Maggie did. They're met by Guy, and then they're just like, oh, you know, I think I can just like jerry rig this door thing here, and it'll open, which it does, and they leave.
Yes.
Exactly. So you're like, yeah, they didn't have to go through all that effort. They could have just gotten scooped up and taken there.
Now this was weird to me. Once they, you know, hijack the car, the van, you know, Remy has a conversation with Mallory about Mallory, you know, in the past stealing cars and his wild past. And Remy was so negative about Mallory's past. And I'm like, man, this came out of nowhere. You know, like, what's the deal with that? Like, he was just like, you know, I had a cousin who was like that, and he died, you know, he never learned anything. What's wrong with you? It's like, I don't know. It felt like a weird interaction between the two.
Yeah, like they were trying to have a bonding moment between the two, and it just wasn't working out.
Yeah, it was just way too forced, you know? I didn't like that part at all. I'm like, this is not the way to be a team, you know? And he just helped you by hot-wiring the car. Why get down on him for that? You've hot-wired cars, Remy. You've done it before. So, come on.
And at the same time, it's like, oh, we want to have this scene, but we don't want to make Mallory seem like he was a bad dude who went out and stole cars.
Right.
So they sort of gave him this thing where he's just like, you know, I'd take it, and I'd just drive it around for a while, but then I'd drop it back off. I'd even top up the gas tank before I
Right.
And you're just like, what? Seriously? And when were you doing this? Before or after you were in a wheelchair?
Right,
How are you
yeah.
boosting cars? I'm not sure. Weird.
We don't know too much about his character, really, besides that he was in a wheelchair. We don't really know much about his life, you know, before that, what type of person he is. And, like, I've seen on, I think it's on the forums, or maybe it was on the Earth Prime, or like, they refer to Mallory as, like, you know, his character is like the con man. And, like, I just haven't picked up on that yet. Like, I haven't picked up on him being a con man at all. I mean, maybe he's a little quick on his feet, but I've never got the feeling that he was a con man. Like, that was his life before, you know, sliding. Like, I don't know where they got that from, but it's been mentioned several times, and I'm like, maybe this is the start of it right here, you know, knowing that he used to do stuff like this. Maybe they're going to develop that more, that he was not always the nicest guy, you know, like he did some bad things. I don't know.
Yeah, until now, I've just always thought of him as a guy who had become disabled by means that I don't think they've really fleshed out.
Right. Well, they said he had some type of disease, they said.
Yeah, well, I thought, it was some sort of genetic disorder, maybe. That,
Yeah.
You know, MS or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I saw it, so, yeah. I guess maybe they are trying to set up this bad boy image now by
Yeah.
having this car boosting thing, but
Exactly.
it wasn't working for me.
No, definitely not.
But, you know, it all works out. I don't even think they would have had to go in there, really. Maggie would have found a way out
Oh yeah,
eventually.
just wait outside. Just do Remy. Remy, do like you do in the first season in the
The
virus
fever episode.
Yeah,
It's the fever one where it's just waiting with the cab.
Just wait with the cab. Pick her up when she comes out. It's all good.
Yeah, because, I don't know, she's getting escorted, like you called out, and I thought the exact same thing, the tiny little robot from Empire.
I know. I'm like, what the heck? You know? It's like,
Yeah.
seriously.
I was waiting for someone to, like, yell at it and for it to just go... and off it goes.
I know. It was just like such a copy, you know? It's like, I looked at pictures even of the droid. Like, there's several different versions of that design. So it could easily have been from there.
And it even, like, when it's chasing after them, it's, like, so menacing. They keep cutting back to it doing this laser thing. And they would, like, it's there and it's doing the laser, and then it'd cut back to the sliders, and then cut back to the little robot, and it's still doing the laser.
I
And then
know.
back to the sliders, then back to the laser, and it's cut out of shape so it can just, like, drive through it. And you're like,
Yes.
this is not suspenseful at all. Like,
No.
I am not afraid of this thing that might shoot my heel or something to
I
get
know.
me to walk.
Like, it feels like you could just jump over it and then crush it, you know? Like, it did
Yeah.
not, you know? Or at least you could break that little shooter off, you know?
Yeah.
It seems so fragile.
Just kick it. Kick the thing.
Exactly.
Punt it.
Kick it over on its side. It doesn't seem to have the ability to right itself up, so, you know? It's like, come on.
Stupid little thing.
Yeah, it was awful.
Yeah, but, you know, all's well that ends well. Arlo and James are going to team up with Guy.
Yes, yes. Which, explain to me how Guy is going to help him.
I don't know.
Because he's a computer on their servers. James and Arlo are going to leave. How are they going to get to Guy? And what's to stop that sector control guy from just saying, you know what, delete the Guy program, would you? You know, and we'll just get another computer program in there for that. It's like,
We skipped over Sector Control there.
yeah, we did, yeah.
But Sector Control is played by Richard Fancy.
Which I've seen him before, yes.
He's in Seinfeld.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
He
Yep,
was
yep,
Lipman.
Yep.
He's the one who rips off Elaine's idea for the muffin top shop.
Yes.
But yeah, he's one of those that guys, you know,
Yes.
who shows up in stuff all the time. You recognize his face.
Yep.
So yeah, it was cool to see him, just for a throwaway part at the end.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Diana drops this line where she's just like, oh, it doesn't look like Data Universal has any, like, firewalls or anything like this. We could totally just crash the server and then bounce.
Yes.
And you're like, okay, all right,
Yeah,
fair
why
enough.
not? The easy answer.
Cheers, Diana. Do that. So yeah, it really is just it's a silly episode.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some things you can laugh at it. You can have an okay time, but you're having an okay time because you're laughing at it.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so it's not worm crap, but
It's not.
It's nothing special. is
Yeah,
it?
it's just there. It's another the season, actually season 4 and 5. It's just very uneven. It's like there's some good stuff and there's some bad stuff, and it's just like it's just pretty equal like that, you know?
Can't win them all.
Hell of a party, Maggie.
Too bad it's over in 5 minutes.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm partied out.
You know, I bet it wouldn't take a lot to crash their computer system. It doesn't even seem like they have a fundamental lockout or a password protection system.
They didn't think they would need it.
If you guys are suggesting we take out their computer, I don't think that's such a good idea.
This is our friend Arlo. He helped us to find you.
Hi, Arlo. Arlo, I have a new friend in here, and I'm not sure what would happen to him if we crashed their system. Besides, like it or not, this place needs Data Universal. Without it, or at least some training and know-how, I don't think this world will survive.
I did.
Yeah, Arlo here's been living outside the system for years.
They're gonna need a good teacher.
Hell, I'm your guy.
James, this man here is gonna teach you how to survive on your own without Data Universal. Now you can be the example you always wanted to be. What do you think?
Well, I think we can do this.
All right.
All right, are we done fixing these people's world?
It's not a fix. You know, we can't solve all their problems. They're gonna have to do that on their own.
I can help too.
All right, I think the three of you would make an incredible team.
Does this mean it's the dawning of a new age in customer service relations?
If you believe in miracles.
All right, well, let's get into some messages in time.
All right, so we now look at not being able to get food and shelter, okay, because you aren't hooked up with Data Universal was a good idea, is what people were saying. But getting sucked up into the waiting room and then you just getting taken care of from that point on, they thought that was stupid. They're like, no, why? You know, the same thing we said. You know, it's like that's ridiculous.
That's true, actually, yeah.
You know, it's like, come on, really? They thought that this is maybe a thinly veiled thumb their noses at Microsoft, you know, because Microsoft trying to provide, you know, everything you need, you know, with their software and whatnot. So they thought maybe that's...
Little do they know that Apple is hovering in the background.
Exactly. They were wondering who was Guy talking to, like in that room when he's all by himself and they come in and find him. Like, who was he talking to? Which I assume he's talking just to another client. But yeah, like, why do they need to have him talking like there on the screen? Because the client isn't actually there. You know?
Yeah, why isn't he just on the other screen where the client is that he's talking to?
Yes, exactly. They're wondering why there's no guards for the holding area people. You know, they just assume they're going to stay, that they want to stay, which they obviously did, but they thought it was weird there were no guards.
Yeah, you think that they would have found a way out after 6 years somehow, with no guards around.
Yeah. Unless, like we said, like they want to be there because they're getting taken care of, so why not?
Yeah, that's true. Not spending.
They like the robot cutting the exact shape of himself so that they can escape. I was like, well, I guess.
It's funny.
Yeah, it's funny.
I don't know if it's good.
Yeah. They were glad that the Sliders didn't save the world yet again, which I can agree with that, because you don't want to always have to be the one saving the world, you know, because that gets played out. They said it was a gem of a good idea, it just was not realized very well. And I guess was it called Data Universal Headquarters? Because I didn't realize that, but Data Universal Headquarters is an acronym for duh. I didn't realize that.
I love it.
Yeah, and then like we said, you know, it's just season greetings.
Yeah.
Also, messages in time for the episode that I actually did like. A lot of people like this episode. You know, they said, it all comes down to, whether or not taking the blessing should be an individual thing. You know, they said they liked that. It should be left ambiguous. It's not like a black and white thing. And they said this is the sort of intelligent and thought-provoking story that Sliders should have been producing, but has done only rarely since season 1. So a lot of support for it.
Oh, they're discounting season 2 there.
Season 1, season 2, yeah, both together, exactly. They said it's a little too dark for this one person, for this one thread. They liked the episode, but not quite enough humor. You know, they started to reminisce about, the king is back, Arturo's outburst about not being Pavarotti, the whole line about, I'm the chicken McNugget, you're the quarter pounder, that whole thing. You know, they were just reminiscing about the good old days of Sliders.
Yeah.
They hate that Quinn is gone for good. They hated that Maggie said she likes Mallory. This one guy, that was the title of his post, or it was something like, does anyone else live it about this? So yeah, they didn't like that. They said it's just like when Quinn pretty much gave up on Wade after he met Maggie. Wade gets taken away, and there's really nothing left to say about Wade from Quinn. So it's like, yeah. They do like that Mallory is not like squeaky clean like Quinn was, like Quinn is the guy who was always, he was the hero, the stereotype of the hero, whereas, Mallory is a little bit more like ambiguous, they like that idea that he's, he actually tried to infect his friends with the blood, he's not just a totally good guy. So they like that idea. And then apparently, they heard that the show is not coming back, at the time this episode aired. They heard the show was not coming back and that the final episode was going to be a cliffhanger. So they knew at this point it was going to be a cliffhanger, that they were not going to resolve it, and the series was canceled after this season.
Yay.
Yeah. They said that Tembulock and Rob Floyd said it on some Sci-Fi chat or something like that. And they were just saying, it's really classless on Sci-Fi's part not to just wrap this up properly. They said it just shows it's from the lack of caring. They just didn't care about the show at all. They were focused on other things.
Yeah, and it's 5 years. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Just give us something to wrap it up.
Exactly.
Well, I guess we've got a cliffhanger ending to look forward to.
Yes.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
My favorite.
Yep. Speaking of cliffhanger endings, that's going to be something that we face again in the future here.
Oh, really?
Quite possibly. If I remember correctly, it's been a while, but I'm just saying, in the future, be prepared just in case.
All right, so let's get into some messages from Earth Prime. We have another email from Intangible.
Awesome.
Yay.
I haven't checked the forums in the last day or two here. I have to go back on there and see if Wade's been talking about me. All right. So Tangible says, so one thing that stood out to me when you were talking about Quinn's mother's name being retconned to Elizabeth, I couldn't help thinking, that's Wade's mother's name. In the one episode where her mother's name is mentioned, she's referred to as Liz, and now apparently the merged Quinns have super hacker skills. So here's a fun little theory. What if during the whole Bubble Universe thing, Wade, wherever she is, was so upset at the idea of a Quinn-Maggie pairing that she somehow managed to influence the universe and ended up with a part of herself tangled up in Quinn, which means that Mallory actually consists of the twin Quinns and Wade. Just a silly theory, but it would have been cool if they'd done something like that. Then they could have kept Wade's presence in the show despite losing Sabrina Lloyd. But then again, maybe she wouldn't have wanted that. Keep it up, Intangible. I like it.
It's a crazy theory.
Yep, I like it, but we would have had a little bit more Wade then.
I don't think they'd care enough to even try to flesh something like that out.
No, if they don't care enough about the Jerry thing, they're definitely not going to care about the Wade thing.
No. Interesting theory there, Intangible.
Yep,
but,
definitely.
Yeah.
That's what makes us these super geeky fans. We love doing stuff like that.
All right. Well, next week's episodes, we will be discussing a current affair.
That sounds interesting.
Yes. And the Java Jive.
And that does not.
Sounds less interesting.
Yes. The Java Jive. It's like, like a new dance. Everyone do the Java Jive.
I imagine it's maybe about illegal coffee smuggling in a 1950s world.
There you go.
It's just a guess.
A prediction.
That's what I'm gunning from the title. We'll find out next week.
I like it. I like the idea. Or maybe, on a less jokey note, I wonder if the Java Jive has something to do with like a world where people are dependent on like chemical stimulants. Maybe. This could be a new thing where we predict what the next episode is going to be about based on the title. A new segment.
I could do that. A current affair is it's 42 minutes of someone being interviewed about their political affiliations.
See, I was thinking that this is probably going to be like Lipschitz Live redone. I don't know. Well, we'll find out.
Yeah.
Next week, because that's it for this episode of the Rewatch Podcast. Keep up with listener interaction by liking our Facebook page at facebook.com/rewatchpodcast and follow the show on Twitter at rewatchpod. You can visit our webpage at rewatchpodcast.podomatic.com, which has some of our favorite links there, such as Dimension of Continuity, earthprime.com, and the active forum over at sliders.tv.
And remember, you can always write us an email or record a voice message and send it to the rewatchpodcast at gmail.com. Also, if you've enjoyed the show, please consider giving us a rate and review on iTunes. That's always very helpful. And if you love the show so much and love the work that Tom and I put into every episode of the Sliders Rewatch, we ask you to head over to patreon.com/rewatchpodcast, and you can contribute a monthly amount as little as $1, and that can just help us keep the lights on around here, keep episodes coming out, pay for bandwidth, pay for hosting costs, stuff like that. And we'd very much appreciate anything you could do there. So thank you for that, everybody. All right, well, thank you for joining me again, Tom.
Yep.
And I would just say, until next time, all you've got here is a slow, happy death.
We gotta slide.
The Rewatch Podcast is not associated with NBC Universal, St. Clair Entertainment, Fox, or Sci-Fi Channel. The use of any and all copyrighted material is only for parody, news analysis, critique, or educational purposes, as provided in United States Code Title 17, aka Fair Use. Music provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com.
Copyright 2016, The Rewatch Podcast.
Slide.